Hello class 11 students. So in our last class we have started the chapter of cell, the basic unit of life. Today also we will continue with the same chapter. Today I will tell you something about the fluid mosaic model. The fluid mosaic model was proposed by Singer and Nicholson. According to the fluid mosaic model, the lipids are present in a viscous bilayer and proteins are present both on the inside and outside of the lipid bilayer. So the statement protein icebergs in the sea of lipids, it is very prevalent. Some of the integral proteins will extend through the lipid bilayer on either side, and these are known as transmembrane or tunnel proteins. They form the channels for passage of water and water-soluble substances. The extrinsic or the peripheral proteins are located superficially on the two surfaces of the membrane, but more on the inner or cytosolic face than on the external surface. These proteins can shift laterally and may provide flexibility and dynamism to the membrane and also structural and functional specificity. The membranes are said to be asymmetric, that is, the two surfaces of a biomembrane are dissimilar. So, they are known as asymmetric. And the membrane, it provides surface for the attachment of the microfilaments or the cytoskeletal elements, we say, for stabilizing the proteins against the lateral movement. Now, what are the observations from the studies of the membrane of erythrocytes? Observation is the lipids present in the outer and the inner layers of the bilayer are commonly different. The lecithin is found more on the outer layer, whereas the cephalin is found in the inner layer. And the type and the quantities of the proteins on the two sides are also different. That is, there are more protein on the inner surface than on the outer surface. There are oligosaccharides also which is present on the outer surface, which are absent on the inner surface. Now, what are the merits of the fluid mosaic model? The fluid mosaic model basically accounts for the dynamic nature of the biomembranes. Freeze the etching technique means it has provided confirmation for the occurrence of the protein particles both on the outer and the inner surface of the membranes, and it also allows for the growth, expansion and contraction of the membrane. So these are the merits of the fluid mosaic model. Apart from that, there are also merits. You can if you have a book, you can see the fluid mosaic models diagram in your book, and apart from that, it also can explain the differences in the permeability in different parts of the membrane. Okay, and experimental evidence for the lateral movement of the membrane protein indicate the fluidity of the lipid part. Now, what is fluidity? The fluidity of the membrane has been demonstrated by a number of simple experiments. Two different cells, one of human being and another of the mouses, were selected for the experiment, and so on. Now, what are the functions of the cell membrane or plasma membrane? It forms a boundary for the cell content and protect them from the environment. As covering of the cell membrane or the cell organelles, it allows them to maintain the specific internal environment and functional individuality. Okay, and through selective permeability, it controls the movement of the substances into and also out of the cell. And cell membrane also plays a role in conduction of the impulses in the nerve cell. Plasma membrane of different plant cells have been reported to have terminal complex or particle rosettes which contain cellulose synthetase for the formation of cellulose microfibrils also. Now, what do you mean by membrane permeability? Membrane permeability basically refers to the extent to which a membrane allows or restricts the passage of substances across it. On the basis of the permeability, the membranes can be classified into three types. Impermeable membrane, permeable membrane and semi-permeable membrane. Okay, the transport of the substances across the membrane occurs in three major ways. First is passive transport, active transport, and third is the bulk transport. First, we will discuss about the passive transport. Passive transport, it refers to the transport of the substances across the membrane without utilization of any type of energy. Okay, and it follows the concentration gradient, and so they occur slowly. Three types of passive transport you all know: diffusion, osmosis, and another is the facilitated diffusion. Okay, so diffusion, you know, this type of membrane transport which involves the movement of ions or molecules of any substance, it can be solid, liquid, or gas, from the region of higher concentration to the region of lower concentration. Okay, and filtration is diffusion under pressure through a membrane that bears minute pores. Understood? And facilitated diffusion is the polar molecules which cannot move from or through or across the nonpolar lipid layer. They require specific carrier protein to facilitate their movement across the membrane. So when the movement of the molecules across the membrane is facilitated by certain protein like permease, the transport is called facilitated diffusion. Okay, and osmosis, you know, it is defined as the diffusion of the water or solvent molecules across a semi-permeable membrane from the region of its higher concentration to the region of the lower concentration until an equilibrium stage is reached. Equilibrium stage means both inside and outside the membrane will be same. So in that it will go on till the level at both the portions are same. Okay, now the external osmotic environment of the cell is called tonicity. Tonicity can be defined, can be classified into isotonic, hypotonic, and hypertonic. So isotonic, what do you mean by isotonic? When the relative concentration of water and the solute on either side of the cell membrane is the same, that type of solution is known as isotonic. And when the solution has lower solute concentration and higher water concentration than the cell sap, then that type of solution is known as hypotonic. And when the relative concentration of the solute is higher and concentration of water is lower than that of the cell, okay, then that solution will be known as hypertonic solution. Now we will come to active transport. What is active transport? It refers to the movement of ions or molecules across the membrane with the expenditure of energy. It may occur even against the concentration gradient. Okay, now what are the factors which affect or inhibit the active transport? First, deficiency of the oxygen. Okay, respiratory poisons if present. Very low or high temperature also will affect. And substances or molecules which have structural similarity to the substrate to be transported. These are the factors which affect or inhibit the process of active transport. Now the ion exchange pump operating in cells, which is known as the sodium and the potassium exchange pump. This is very important. This is a mechanism for transferring the Na plus and K plus ion against the electrochemical gradient. Clear? And the integral protein which is involved in the sodium potassium pump is dependent on the presence of the Na plus and K plus ions, right? And for every molecules of ATP used, 3 Na plus ions are pumped out and 2 K plus ions are pumped in. Now due to these ion exchange, that is due to the presence of the sodium potassium pump, some functions are performed within the system. First is it maintains a far higher sodium ion concentration outside the cell than inside. Okay, and it takes part in the excretion of sodium chloride in case of marine birds like seagulls and penguin through their nasal salt gland. And this process also helps in maintaining the resting membrane potential by keeping the inner side of the membrane relatively electronegative and the outer side electropositive. Okay, this is the what I said are the functions which is performed by sodium potassium pump. Another is the calcium pump, Ca2 plus pump. It maintains the calcium concentration in the similar way. It maintains the calcium concentration at a very low level by pumping the Ca2 plus ions out of the cell. Okay. Now, what is the significance of the active transport? Active transport helps to maintain the ionic and water balance between the cells and the extracellular fluids. It aids in maintaining the resting membrane potential through Na plus K plus exchange pump. Active transport of potassium and sodium ions, it plays a role in generating the nerve impulse and muscle contraction also. Absorption of glucose, galactose, amino acids, minerals from the intestinal lumen also takes place in the active transport, and it helps in rapid, selective and exhaustive intake of many nutrients by the cells. Now, what is bulk transport? The materials which cannot pass through the unbroken plasma membrane are transported across the membrane involving movement, folding and fusion of the cell membrane that are dependent on its fluidity and mobility. This process requires energy as ATP, and this is known as the bulk transport. Depending on the direction of movement into or out of the cell, bulk transport can be of two types. One is endocytosis, another is the exocytosis. Okay. Endo means within and cytos means cell. It is the active intake of large molecules into the cell in bulk involving a piece of cell membrane. Here, two processes are involved. One is phagocytosis, another is the pinocytosis. Phagocytosis we say as the cell eating. Phagocytosis is the active process where a cell ingests or engulfs the solid particles in bulk involving a piece of membrane and energy. So for performing these, the pseudopodia you have heard about, so phagocytosis is the eating up of the cell particles. Another is the pinocytosis or cell drinking. Okay, cell drinking. So pinocytosis is the active process by which a cell ingests or engulf a large liquid droplets involving a piece of cell membrane and energy. Okay, and a phagosome or pinosome combines with the primary lysosome and forms a digestive vacuole. Another is the exocytosis. Exo means out, cytos means cell. So it is the active process by which the cell throws out large molecules enclosed in the membrane. Okay, secretory or excretory materials will remain as membrane bound vesicles in the cytoplasm. Now, what are cell inclusions? Cell inclusions basically refer to the non-living or the non-living substances basically which is present either in soluble or insoluble forms in the cells. These are known as ergastic substances. They do not show growth or multiplication. Okay, because these are the non-living substances. They can be divided into different categories like vacuoles, reserve food or storage food, excretory product, secretory product and mineral matter. Okay, so you have understood I think till this much. Now different types of excretory substances are excreted out by the cells and which are used up by us. First you can give an example of gum. Gums are formed by the process of gummosis where cellulose is degenerated. They have the adhesive property like gum arabic from Acacia senegal. Resins, these are derived from carbohydrate. These are insoluble in water but soluble in alcohol and ether. They are used in paints and varnishes, right? Resins are obtained from where? From the conifers like pinus, cedrus, etc. And tannins are also phenolic compounds which show acidic reaction and they are bitter to taste. Latex are milky white or yellow fluid. It is emulsion of the suspension of proteins, alkaloids, etc. So these are the excretory products which is excreted out by the plants. Now we come to the cell organelles. Cell organelles are the living or protoplasmic substances or protoplasmic structures, we can say. They have the organized structure and they perform specific functions in the metabolism of the cells, and they show growth, and in some cases they even show multiplication. Okay, cell organelle first we will discuss about mitochondria. Normally mitochondria are sausage shaped, but their shape varies in different cells, and their number also varies in different species, and even in the same species also the number of mitochondria may vary. It consists of outer membrane, inner membrane. You have to draw and level the structure of mitochondria. The outer membrane, you can see if you have a book, it's very smooth and it is permeable to many substances due to the presence of protein channels, which is known as porins. And the inner membrane is extensive and it is thrown into a number of finger-like projections or folds known as crista into the matrix. What are the functions of mitochondria? You know, mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. So these are the main seats of respiratory chain which is involved in stepwise oxidation of food materials and converted the released energy into the ATP. And they also provide many intermediates for the synthesis of different biomolecules like amino acids, chlorophyll, etc. And mitochondria regulate the calcium ion level in the cells also. Next, plastid. Plastids are double membrane bound cell organelles which is found in the plant cells and also in some dinoflagellates and diatoms. These are visible under the light microscope. And leucoplast, one type of plastid. These are colorless plastids which are meant for the storage of materials and normally found in those parts of the plant body where chlorophyll is not present, which are not exposed to sunlight like roots, underground stem, buds, etc. And chromo means colored. Chromoplast are the colored plastids which contain mainly pigments, carotene, xanthophyll, etc., which give red, orange, and yellow color to the parts of the flower or the fruit. Okay, these are present in the petals of the flower. They absorb light energy and pass it on to the chlorophyll in the chloroplast. Okay, and chloroplast are the green plastids we all know which contain mainly chlorophyll pigment, and very little of carotene and xanthophyll is also present. Now there are a few similarities between mitochondria and chloroplast. Both mitochondria and the chloroplast, they originate and develop in the same way. They arise by the division of pre-existing organelles, and both are semi-autonomous organelles and contain DNA, RNA. And the symbiont hypothesis, it suggests that both the mitochondria and the chloroplast might have existed as independent organisms and evolved as symbiont in animal and plant cells and then into the present state of the cell organelle. So there are few similarities between mitochondria and chloroplast. Now what are the functions of the chloroplast? Chloroplast are the main site of photosynthesis. So they are the sites where the food for the plant is manufactured, and they also store the starch under for short periods of time, as of higher plants for longer periods of time also. And the chloroplast, they become transformed into chromoplast, right? They become transformed in the chromoplast with the degeneration of lamella and the development of carotenoid pigments also. The endoplasmic reticulum, where these are, or how is the structure of this endoplasmic reticulum? They are irregular network of membrane lined channels, we say, that runs through the cytoplasm, and it is more concentrated in the endoplasm, that is the interior of the cell. So the name endoplasmic reticulum. Rough endoplasmic reticulum and smooth endoplasmic reticulum, two types are there. Rough endoplasmic reticulum, in short we say RER, it is found in the cells which are actively engaged in the synthesis of protein. And what is the function of rough endoplasmic reticulum? it provides the place for the attachment of the ribosome because it has two types of glycoproteins, and it has a role in the post-translational modification of polypeptide or complexing them with other molecules like the sugars. And it acts as the channels for transport of the proteins synthesized by the ribosomes, and it also provides the enzymes for the formation of lysosome by Golgi complex. And smooth endoplasmic reticulum, it helps in the formation of spherosomes, and it contains the enzyme bodies called glycosomes in the liver cell, so it is concerned with the metabolism of the glycogen and actively engaged in the synthesis of sterols and steroid hormones in the testes and the ovary. Okay, apart from that, the smooth endoplasmic reticulum, it mediates the transport of the substances from ARIA to Golgi complex, and it has a role in the formation of visual purple in retinal cells of the eye. So these are the functions of the smooth endoplasmic reticulum and rough endoplasmic reticulum. Till this much today. Thank you.